Hello, everybody. Catchy13 with Catchy Gaming, and today I'm going to talk about Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. I kind of just bought this on a whim, and it's been a really long time since I played any of the Yoshi titles. I don't think I've touched anything since Yoshi's Island on the 64 back in the 90s. So Yoshi titles sort of have evolved into this, I don't know, category or multiple categories where they're not quite platformers or action games, but they're close. But this particular title gave off certain vibes to it when I was playing through it. Something that I haven't really thought about until I played this game, and that was when I was a kid. In the early 90s, specifically, when my school had old computers that played a bunch of video games from the 80s, where I'd play games like Reader Rabbit or the original Oregon Trail. Yeah, I'm that old. And at home, my parents had a basic computer. We couldn't run anything really complicated, so we had a lot of just educational games like Carmen San Diego. At least on the PC, we had plenty of console games. But more specifically, this reminds me a bit of Mario is Missing. You know, the game where they tricked people into actually thinking that it was going to be an adventure with Luigi when they were just trying to fool you into learning stuff. So let's go over the premise. It starts out by Bowser Jr. going into a library in one of his dad's various castles, and he sees a very large book on a very large stack of books. He discards his, I don't know, trademark paintbrush and rushes to the book. Upon opening the book, he sees a creature that he is enamored with that we later learn is called a Wonder Bird. Although I'd like to note that none of the text is in any language, but he sees that it's on a particular island, which is so happens to be Yoshi Island. After traveling there, he discovers that there's a monocle, not realizing that it actually had some kind of function, and inadvertently sending himself into the book, causing his little clown copter to crash on Yoshi's Island with the book, where he then asks the various Yoshis to help him out. He then asks the Yoshis to look at his contents to see if there's anything amiss, which I don't know how they would know because they've never read the inside of him, which is a weird thing to say, but yes. And thus starts the game where you explore tiny little, I guess, segments of various landscapes, and you discover things about said creatures. So let's take this first one. They call them Crazy Daisies. So you start off by doing some basic things, like you have basic game mechanics that you might do to an enemy in various Mario games. Like gobbling up, stomping on their heads, stuff like that. And upon discovering what effects it has on said enemies, you are rewarded with, I guess, stars that are more or less how they control how you are able to progress through the various sections of the book. Which I forgot to mention that he is Mr. Encyclopedia, but he likes to be called Mr. E, which obviously sounds like mystery. And they're playing fast and loose here, and I'm sort of wondering if the book's actually evil. Probably not, but it gives me that this book is potentially evil vibes. Anyways, so you take the enemies, you basically experiment and try various different things with them to see what you can and can't do with this particular little NPC in the game. I do find it a little funny that Yoshi can pick them up and absolutely just chuck them wherever he wants to. Like nonchalantly just whoop, chucks them. So that's where the educational part of this comes in. It feels and plays very much like a lot of the educational games that I used to play when I was a kid in the 90s. It makes me think that they're trying to get me to learn something, like basic mechanics, but also how to more or less experiment with the various mechanics and see what I can get the various creatures you run into to do different things. It's trying to make me learn. I mean, they put a spin on it, but it's definitely trying to make you learn and try different things and encourages you to do that. And if you don't think I'm lying about in terms of being sort of on the educational side, let me point you to this particular section where you have these weird sort of squat bird frog things. So for this particular little discovery, they wanted you to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I am not musically inclined in any capacity. I played the violin when I was like 9, and that's the last time I've touched music. They wanted me to learn Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and then assign it to Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do and then play the tune on the frog duck things' heads. So if you don't think there's some kind of learning component to that, I don't know what to say to you, but I did not learn that. I just watched someone else do it and then kept track of what frogs he jumped on. So I guess they didn't make me learn, just not in the way they wanted me to. Because there's no way I was going to get Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So enough of that. Let's get back to the mechanics of the game. After you're done exploring an area, and when you come in contact with one of the various creatures, you get to name it. You can ask for a suggestion from Mr. E, or you can name it yourself. It'll also go through a series of discoveries that you made about said creature, sort of emphasizing the learning aspect that I keep emphasizing, which increases that little star power you see up in the upper left-hand corner, which allows you to explore different parts of the book by making more discoveries. The more discoveries you make, more areas you get to unlock and explore, finding newer creatures. You can also, for reasons, select whatever color Yoshi you want. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. Now, I did abuse the naming system in the game, and I did name one particular group of creatures something inappropriate. I couldn't help myself. I called them bees nuts. I probably shouldn't share this, but I'm going to leave it in the video. So when it comes to finding discoveries, there's a couple of ways. Mr. E will give you hints when you push the L button, but when I was capturing the footage for Bees Nuts, this little ink splotch showed up. And I hadn't seen it before, but it turns out it was pushing you towards a specific discovery. I don't know if it's something to push along the creatures so that you can experience more discoveries later on by mixing and matching the various creatures together, because some of these creatures go outside of their biomes you discover them in and get to use them there. So I don't know if that's the reason why they're pushing you towards it. But when you do discover it, it shows back up and it gives you a bunch of these little tokens, which are used to buy hints from Mr. E, and incentivizing you to actually prioritize certain discoveries that you haven't made yet. Now, there is a bit of a plot going on where you have Kamek, who somehow made it into the book. Doesn't explain how he made it into the book, but he just does. I mean, for all I know, he's a creature in the book, and we just don't know that he's a creature in the book, and he can pass through the various different biomes. Or they just decided to put him in the book because he's supposed to be Bowser Jr.'s servant. I don't know. But Bowser Jr. keeps looking for that Wonder Bird. And that's kind of the plot so far. I haven't really gotten past the second biome in the book. Or maybe I should say second set of creatures, either way. Now, in terms of actual gameplay, it feels very much like a Yoshi game from like Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. I mean, yeah, they added the thing where you can pick up enemies and stuff like that and put them on your back. But mechanically, it's very similar to that of the 90s gameplay they established with Yoshi's Island. I mean, you swallow enemies, you turn them into eggs, you throw the eggs, you butt thwomp, you do all those fun things. I mean, they just added picking them up and stuff like that, which adds a little bit of mechanics depending on what kind of creature you are carrying around. Now, in terms of its animation, I mean, it's colorful, I'll give it that. And I actually like the art style they use when you are selecting from what creature you want to go and explore. The sort of, I don't know, watercolor is not quite right. It's more like colored pencil, but it's alive, it's moving, and I just think it's neat. Now, when you're actually controlling Yoshi, I don't know if it's just my brain tricking me, but it feels like they're intentionally skipping some frames. Like, not a whole bunch. Kind of doing like what they did with the Into the Spider-Verse and the. I hate to say it, even though I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the animation, the K-pop Demon Hunters, where you miss a few frames. It kind of feels like that. Maybe just a little bit, but not to the same degree. But the textures are definitely something like it's been hand drawn. Like I said, that sort of color pencil sort of look to it. It definitely makes it stand out from other games. Instead of just having smooth, colorful textures, you have this sort of artsy kind of style thing going on. Because you're in the book, which would make sense. Now, to be honest, this game is stupidly easy. There's isn't a fail state that I have found yet. I mean, I guess there's a kind of minor fail state in which you can mess things up and not get certain discoveries depending on what you did throughout the whole entire level, in which case you'll just have to start all over. But you can't, like, die or get knocked out or anything. You just take a hit and keep on moving. And to be honest, the only enemy that does attack you are the bee's nuts. And like I said, when you get hit, nothing happens. Yoshi just goes, and you keep playing the game like nothing happened. So you just keep playing the same area over and over again until you find all the discoveries, or you move on because you can't find them all quite yet, and then have to come back to them. So it's going to be for a very specific kind of player who's going to actually enjoy this and just keep going through it. I don't know what to tell you in terms of what kind of player that is. If you're a first-person shooter lover, you're probably not going to love this game. If you like something fast-paced, probably also not going to like this game. If you're okay with trying multiple things over and over again and failing and then just trying something different to see if you'll get something new to happen, this might be up your alley. So I really can't recommend it, but I also can't not recommend it. It's kind of like, I mean, depending on what things you particularly like or don't like, you're gonna probably love this game. I'm going to just go out on a limb that I'm saying that most people aren't gonna like this game. Yes, it's Yoshi, but it feels like this is definitely geared towards a much younger crowd with the way the gameplay feels. The lack of fail states. Like I said, the whole entire learning vibe. It's like they're trying to get younger players to start off with this game, and then they sort of learn the mechanics of what to expect or possibly do to adapt to future games they might buy and or play. Anyways, I'm gonna end it here. Let's just say for fun, what was your favorite educational game that you played when you were a kid? And if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.